Thank you very much, Mr. Jon Bassford, for being here today. John, he is the owner, he is a speaker, he's a consultant in the space, best-selling author as well. If you can give us your intro to people know about yourself, your story, and we go from there.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Jon Bassford. So I am, as mentioned, I am a consultant, speaker, and author. I've spent my career helping organizations and individuals grow. My career started out in the association world and working with chapter leaders and operations and leadership, and it's grown into working for global nonprofits and venture-backed startups to help them do the inner work, the work in leadership, the work in the internal processes of operations, and finding out the best ways to break free and take their organizations to the next level.
Thank you for that. And one of the toughest markets, I would say, and maybe you can help us because of the value that you're providing in the marketplace with the non-for-profits, like those organizations usually have constraints in their budget. So how do you go about helping them to make them thrive? And if that's the case, like it speaks about your efficiency and speaks about the growth that you're pushing in that vertical.
Sure. So, I mean, let's be honest, right? There are a lot of kind of homegrown, smaller nonprofits that are run for a passion project, right? Those are not the ones I tend to work with. My clients tend to be working with at least a $2 to $3 million budget. So there's quite, I would say a spectrum there from nonprofits, working on a $10,000 budget or even $1,000 budget to some working in the hundreds of millions, right? So I don't work with the smaller ones just because they don't have the budget to be able to invest in people like me. But always, for the ones I do work with, a lot of what I do is helping them find better ways to use the money, right? As nonprofits, they want to be judicious of how they spend the money that's coming in, and making sure that your operations is set up efficient and effective. Make sure that you're having operational excellence, which I define as an organization's ability to achieve its intended results as efficiently, effectively as possible, goes a long way in being judicious with the money that you're given.
Yeah, that's a good point. And given that, how do you go about finding because I don't think, and you might tell us if it's a cookie cutter, but I don't think you need to do an audit. You see how are they operating, identifying inefficiencies, whatever. So there could be some constraints about time, some constraints about budgeting, whatever. So obviously, speaking of ROI, I would assume that the service that you're providing is going to pay for itself many times over. Doing the partnership with your clients because of the expertise that you have built and the work that you're doing with them, correct?
Yeah. So let me tell you about I was working with a tech startup recently, and after working with them for a little bit, I quickly kind of realized that a lot of their internal process procedures were really inefficient and really ineffective. Which there's the actual money cost of it, but a lot of times what happens in small organizations and startups, et cetera, isn't so much the money cost, it's the time cost. They're one of the places that an organization can look first to see how they're running the organization and whether or not it's efficient and effective is look at your accounts payable system. That's one of the first places I look to see is an organization running effectively, is how they do their accounts payable. In this example with the startup, that's where we ended up making the biggest change. And I know it sounds small, and I know it sounds simple, but there were probably the CEO and founder himself, who works 20-hour days, was probably spending 5 to 10 hours a week in accounts payable processes in some way, shape, or form that he shouldn't have been. Plus, everyone in the leadership team, including me as kind of that consultant COO, was receiving every email about a bill coming in, a bill being entered, a bill ready for payment. Everything that happened, every single one of us would get these emails. So collectively, by changing the systems and processes of how accounts payable worked and who touched it and when, we've saved a minimum of 15 to 20 hours of work and attention across the entire staff. And this is a stat that's overlooked. And someone may say, look, accounts payable and internal processes don't really move the needle. One example I like to give is the car company Fisker, now famously bankrupt. But one of the news stories that kept coming out while they're in their bankruptcy was that they were shipping their cars to customers before accepting payments. That accounts receivable, again, is a thing that everyone thinks they know how to do and know how to do correctly. But how you set up process procedures is what allows you as a company to ship not a ream of paper, not a pack of pens, but $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 vehicles to customers without accepting the payment first. That was a breakdown on process procedure, not the product itself.
And that's the thing that we could say or perceive, as you said, very basic, but the basic things that do not interrupt the leader with like constant notifications can lead us as well into the next thing of growth, which is leveling up the leader with the mindset that they need so that they can become the person that need to become in order to lead the people. And I think that's one of the verticals that you apply in your methodology, correct?
It's 100%. Something I say to CEOs and founders all the time, that you may be the CEO, you may be the founder, but if you're doing the bookkeeping, you're also a bookkeeper. Like you are a bookkeeper, right? And like no CEO and founder of a business wants to see themselves as a bookkeeper or the HR administrator, but so many of them play those roles, and quite frankly, because a lot of times what CEOs and founders do is they tend to outsource their area of genius first: product development, marketing, sales, the things that they are good at that allow them to create this business. That's what they outsource first. They outsource the external elements of it. So what naturally happens is when they outsource the external pieces, there's no money left for the investment of the internal pieces. And you really got to focus on the inner work, the mindset of the leadership. My book is on the Curious Leader, and I talk about how it changes how we think, how we work, and how we connect. It affects the mindset, having a growth mindset from leadership. And quite frankly, CEOs and founders, one way to look at it is, what do you think your time is worth? Like, what do you want that dollar amount of your time to be worth per hour, per day, whatever it is? And then think about all the tasks you're doing that could be done probably with better proficiency, better results by someone at a lot lower rate. Like, those are the things you need to be focused on to get yourself out of your own way, let go of control a little bit, and really focuses on the things that will truly move the organization forward.
Yeah, buying back the time, basically, for sure. And with the Curious Leader, people can find it in Amazon. I was checking it out, like the Kindle version, hard copy, everything. It has great ratings as well. When it comes let's say, and that's a question I'd like to ask. Let's say there's an alpha. There's this, and it comes on education. I am the owner. I should know everything. No, buddy, you don't know everything. That's why you need you check your P&L, check this, check that, so that they need to. For me to be able to get help, I need to say, yes, I need help. Let's bring Jon to the table. So what is that you're doing in terms of breaking that egg, or that alpha that it's like, oh, I know everything, or make them listen to you? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's tough, right? This organization I mentioned, the startup, we made some changes just in how they did their accounts payable. It took 3.5 months. Like, I wrote 4 different memos. Like, I went on, all kinds of things. We just talked about it. It took a long time, kind of the old adage of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It took some time with this guy, right? And like, I just wanted help. I knew how these changes would change his business. And it really just became a situation where he was stepping over dollars to pick up pennies type of situation. And it took a while to get through to him. And, one of the things I like to bring up to CEOs and founders is, if you ask any CEO or founder, if I ask you, what kind of team do you want to build? You're going to say, I want to build an A team, right? Like, I want an A team. I want A players for everything. Well, when you're doing everything yourself, or you're controlling every bit of the process, or you're the cog in the wheel, you are creating a C team. There's some things you're A at, there's some things you're F at. And at best, you're going to level out a C. And so that, like, getting people to see that by you building the team yourself, that when you become such a core component to every single thing and what everyone does in your organization, you are building a C team, because you're bringing all the perspective, all the time, all the effort, all the work back to you. And you're usually a cog in the wheel because of time. People are waiting on you to act, or it's everything is acting in your view and perspective of the way things should be done. And what that does is ignores the perspectives of everyone else who works for you. So I really challenge everyone to look at it that way. Look at, if you want to build an A team, you've got to have the right people hired for the right roles. But then the next step is you have to allow them to do their job. That's the way to build an A team.
Yeah, 100%. It also helped me personally to level up myself. So now there's also the team itself, which you also train, correct? So you have the leadership training, but also training the people below to make sure that we have an A team. So how does that look like in terms of is it workshops? If it's courses? How do you approach the training for the teams to make them AAA players?
Yeah, I think to build an A team, first to me, it always boils down to the culture, which the culture has to be driven from the top. I've worked with organizations that have, allowed the teams to go through workshops and define what the culture is going to be. I actually disagree with that. I mean, obviously you want to be empathetic and have unique perspective and bring in opinions, right? But the leader at the top is the one who's responsible for making sure the organization is running smoothly and effectively. And to me, that means dictating what kind of culture we're going to have. And there's no better way, in my mind, not just because I wrote the book, but building a curious culture is the best way to build that A team. And it's actually even based on a study that Google did. Google did a study called Project Aristotle, where they interviewed, did forums, interviews, the whole 9 yards of thousands upon thousands of Google employees, with the goal of pinpointing what made a team within Google successful. They had their hypothesis of degrees and DI and all of these things. And what they came back with was psychological safety. And that's kind of a core base of having a curious culture, because a part of having a curious culture is creating this environment where people can constantly speak up, bring ideas, point out problems, just this constant iteration and adaptability in an organization to truly fix things real time and keep moving forward the same process. I kind of look at that as agile development, a software development term that I think should be infused throughout every aspect of an organization. And psychological safety is that mechanism that allows that to happen. You have to create this environment where people feel safe, right? The first time a CEO stands up in a meeting and says, tell me what you really think about what we just did, you're not going to get a lot of answers that are honest, right? Like you're going to get some watered down ones, some like, oh, it was great. But
fear, yeah.
Yeah, the more you create psychological safety, you create this atmosphere where people are willing to give their honest response, candid responses to what just happened. What often happens in a meeting like this is, we've all sat in these meetings, right, where the leader gets up there and says, hey, I want to talk about what this, our product launch or whatever it is. And the first thing they always do is say, here are my thoughts. You just brought that entire discussion your direction. If anyone completely disagrees with what you just said, no one's going to actively come out and just say, I completely disagree with you, boss. Unless you already have a culture where this is allowed, it's not going to happen, right? So you got to build it time little bit at a time is a better way to put that. And one of the best things to do is just start small. Have these one-on-one conversations, not at the water cooler, not at the pizza party, but one-on-one in an office kind of type meeting where you get to know your staff, what makes them excited. Ask them, what's one thing we can change in the organization and make your job better. Make it about them. Make it about how they're attributing to the organization and success. Those are the ways you really start breaking down the kind of traditional ways of management and culture, and truly transitioning to a curious culture that's backed by this notion of psychological safety.
Yeah, and that is it's science, guys. Like design centric. It is also very aligned with the curiosity-driven mindset and the design thinking, which is backed up by every school of business. They did an index of companies driving design-centric or curiosity-driven approaches, and they are way better in the 228% to be exact in terms of growth by comparing them with the linear thinking, the just like it is what I say, leadership trickles down the mandates and everything. There's no bottom up response or opinions. Exactly what you're saying. So it is proven by data. It is 100% accurate, and I love how you position it. I really like the curious approach, and I will buy a book. One second, I will make sure I apply these principles and try to be very curious and solve better problems. And I think that now I understand the bulb on the book, because it's creating ideas and fostering the spark of the leaders and the entire organization to innovation, basically, right?
Yeah, and here's another great little example, right? That we've all been here. I have been here, where we're in a meeting and the CEO, the boss, asked the new person who just started that week what they think about something. What happens? We all roll our eyes. We're all mumbling under our breath. This person just got here. What the hell do they have to contribute? They don't know anything yet. You know what? That's the first person you should be tapping into, because everyone else in that room is conditioned by the habits, the culture, the traditions, all of the things, the status quo of how that office runs and how it operates. They're already, infected with that.
Yeah.
The new person isn't. They're the ones able to bring the freshest eyes, the freshest perspective. That is like, if I hire someone, when I hire someone new, I am talking to that person every single week, even if they are 3 levels below me. And again, I work with companies that are thousands of employees, right? So I can do this. Like I'm talking to that person every week about what they're seeing and what we can change, what we can do different to make things better, because they have the freshest ideas. They're coming in, they're learning the process, which is obviously going to bring out some holes in the process if you allow that mechanism for them to be honest.
Completely unbiased individual, bringing out like all the freshness, as you say, 100%. That's a great advice. So for someone to see more of your content, obviously we're going to put the link on the description so that they can follow you. What's the best way that they can ask you if they're curious about something? Business owners, professionals, LinkedIn is the best, or the website. We'll put everything there.
Yeah, I think I have 2 websites. I got one for my consulting business, which is think-lateral.com for Lateral Solutions. And then my personal brand is Jon Bassford, John without an H, and then a bass fish and a Ford car, pretty straightforward. But really reaching out to jonbassford.com is a great way to see in the consulting what I'm doing day to day. Obviously, my social channels are listed on my jonbassford.com site, and connect with me, engage with the content, and if there's anything that you're working on that we might be able to help with, reach out. Always happy to do a free initial consult to learn more about your organization and what your struggles are, and seeing how we can help.
Thank you very much, Jon. It was very insightful for me, and I'm sure for everyone. And if anyone takes action with this approach, that's the goal. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.